Welcome everybody to March. Unbelievable. First thing to review would be the minutes. Everybody have a chance to review the January and February minutes. Anybody have any comments, additions, or edits to the minutes for January or February? Okay, let's move to approve the January and February. Do we have a second? Bet. All right. All right. I'll go from left to right on my screen. Karen, do you move to approve?
Yes.
Essence?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
Quentin?
Yes.
Sam?
Yep.
Yes.
Babette?
Yes.
And Rachel?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. I assume there are no changes to the financials, Sean, but if you will give us the update.
Yeah, no changes. I just got a text from Elliot. He can't make it, but we have quorum, so we should be good. 61, 635, and 66, and then that's the 402 municipal account, and then in the Arts Commission operating, which is the former postcard account, we have $3,961.65. So no changes month to month.
Perfect. Well, let's get started with public art. Both Nick, I know you'll have some updates, but Sean, do you want to start with Switchyard since it's so new and shiny?
Yeah, let's see if I can bring it up, actually. Let me do this. Because I just emailed somebody it. I'll share my screen. So T3 was on site today. Can everybody see this screen that I'm sharing, right? So if you all could recall, you all should have access, everybody should have access to the construction drawings and all that kind of stuff. So this was Tom's here, Rachel's here. They were just double checking, test fitting the material. There's a couple concerns about obviously the depth off the wall. The limestone is not an even surface, so just making sure that the piece fits really nicely. So they took our feedback originally and kind of abstracted the design a little bit. So this is Campus River or Clear, I never get that right, whatever river that is that goes through the park. This is the Black Line rail trail right here. And then this is the Monon coming up into the Switchyard, which will be in this kind of area. And then you're starting to see, you can't really see the difference here. The difference is between stainless steel and aluminum. So that's the aluminum will be where the rail cars are, and there'll be some movement. That's because of safety factors. Sam was very set a careful set of eyes against that when we were reviewing the project. And then this will be aluminum, or this is aluminum that will be finished with automotive paint for routine maintenance, those kinds of things. So this is so moving forward, this should be complete within the next month or so, which is pretty awesome. And then on the other side, we will have the Big Dipper installation that will be facing the Beeline, which is a really nice addition. They've had to alter it a little bit because there's some electrical in the structure itself that kind of alters, kind of in the interior of the building. But it won't alter it too much in terms of like the actual. It's still going to look like the Big Dipper, that kind of stuff. So we're pretty excited about it.
So what are the next steps?
The next steps, which I kind of shout out to the Public Art Planning Committee, we will need to consider a dedication ceremony, possibly in May. I wanted to ask any member to join in on that. It doesn't have to be just members from the Public Art Committee. I know that Babette and Karen have been involved very early on with the Monroe County History Center. And so we'll be reconvening a meeting with them as well as Tyler Miles, our former intern, has worked out a project and kind of performance with the African American Dance Ensemble for the dedication. And this will be that's a pre-recorded video, so we can either, so that's something for the good of the order we should discuss tonight, whether we want to do some kind of hybrid event, all digital, somewhat in person. I would probably imagine that somewhat in person is totally safe and feasible if we encourage small numbers of attendance and physical distancing. But it's our first 1% project that is going to be complete out of the last 5. So it's pretty exciting.
Thoughts, anybody? Questions?
It is excited to see it up and done. Like, it's just been a while. It's kind of cool to see everything coming together. So yeah, congratulations and thanks for all the leadership on making this happen.
I feel that way too, Quentin. It's been so abstract for so long.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I was like, almost like, I was like, do I have something in my eye at the job site?
Right. It's very cool.
No, it is really cool to see. I mean, it's been a long time in the making. I mean, Nick and I mean, everybody's been there from the beginning on this one, and it's exciting that they're all coming together. So, but yeah, I mean, how does everybody feel about maybe doing some kind of hybrid event, or like, you know, really focusing kind of on some kind of dedication, obviously in person at Switchyard. The park itself, the Parks Department will have some kind of more formal event in the fall if it allows to, because some of the final stages of the park is coming together. We can obviously be involved in that, but it doesn't seem right to the artists to wait that long, because it will be up, right? And people will be interacting with it and those kinds of things. So yeah, I'm curious what everybody thinks.
Babette?
I think we could just do some kind of informal dedication where you have the artist, you have whoever from the city is responsible, whatever members of the BAC can be there, and get somebody from the HT, so there's some press on it, and you know, that would go a long way.
Anybody else? Sam, what do you think?
Well, I was gonna say my Zoom like just crashed right when Sean said the only pushback or the feedback was blah blah blah, and then I was like, ah! So I didn't hear any of the feedback, and my only thought before that was like, I saw the picture and it looked awesome, but that seemed to be on the other side. It's going on the.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that a couple of meetings ago. We had to flip it because of all the electrical that's on one of the walls. And the other thing too, it's now required when you have a splash pad area. There was a shower installed on that facade. So that piece just worked better based off of those kinds of like last minute constraints. I guess it's a new, it's been in place for a while, but when you have a splash pad area in a new park, you actually have to have a physical shower installed. So there's actually like an outdoor shower on the splash pad building on that facade. So with some negotiation with T3, we felt it better to flip them based off of those concerns.
Okay, and then will the lights go then on that west side?
Yeah, I'll be facing the side that's the B line, which is kind of nice actually. I think it's a better fit and feel for the whole space.
Cool. In terms of a release party, that's not the right word, but whatever the party, the unveiling, ribbon cutting, dedication. Yeah, our family's still very very bubbled up, but if it were outside and if it were just low key with just like a few officials and the BAC, like I would maybe attend, and otherwise I would definitely be for an online thing. But I don't think I would bring my kiddo to interact with it probably at this point.
Adding to that, I don't think we should invite the public, but then limit the number of people. I think if we're going to invite the public, we need to invite the public. And I feel weird saying like first come, first serve, essentially.
Yeah, somehow I don't think we would have, masses of people showing up. I think it can be this is going to be Zoomed. We're going to be here. You can come and observe from a distance, or you can watch it over Zoom kind of thing, and start to bridge into the being in person, but without necessarily making it a public event per se.
Yeah, I'm into that. It was just, I think earlier, Sean mentioned like limiting the number of people that could attend, and like that just feels weird. So.
And then I think it would be hard to predict and enforce once we're there. But having us there and showing the artwork live, I think would make a difference versus slides of the artwork kind of thing. Liz, Nick, Quentin, anybody?
The general shape of what folks are talking about sounds good to me. And I think we could even, if we wanted to be, I don't think we'll have a ton of people show up, but I think if we wanted to be prepared for that, we can even go as far as to like measure out and tape down some X's on the ground or whatever to kind of like guide people's distancing, that sort of thing.
Agreed. Similar to what Nick was saying, I agree. I don't think we're gonna have like a mad dash of people coming. So maybe just like Nick was saying, some precautions, like have a table with some masks and some hand sanitizer on deck, just so we, can be prepared. But I imagine there won't be too many people other than us.
Okay, so I think we have an agreement in the overall format. Raise or show of hands of anybody who wants to help organize this with Sean.
I hope.
If you tell me what to do, I'll do it.
Well, Babette and Karen, you're already on deck for history center overlap, but Quentin, I'll pull you in on that too. So, and the good news is for BAC folks, we will have park staff helping. So, as you all know, the pavilion has been used for the winter's farmers market this winter. So like like Sean Marler runs a really tight ship. So like what you said, Quentin, about like having masks and, we can tape things out. So we'll run, having park staff helping will definitely make for a smooth transition. So anyway, well, thank you all. That's the big update on Switchyard.
So Sean, will you send us a note telling us what we need to do?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, and reel me in if you need me. All right, Nick, other public art updates, announcements?
Yeah, I mean, this is mostly me reading an email from Sean, but just a reminder that tomorrow, Esteban Garcia is doing a workshop at the Mill, both in person and virtual, from 6 to 7:30, to get members of the public and trained up on how to participate and submit art that can be incorporated into the Trades Garage piece. The ribbon cutting for the garage itself will be April 17th. And so, the art component won't be finished by then. But it sounds like Esteban is still planning to attend and host a workshop there. So we should get that on our calendar as well. Sean, outside of the one tomorrow and the one at the ribbon cutting, do you anticipate more workshops from Esteban? Or we're going to kind of see how those go first?
Yeah, so Helen participated in his first workshop, and I don't know if Helen's here. It went really well. She gave him some good feedback and some pointers. We had a little bit of a snafu because it was like at an odd time, and then the winter storm kicked it in a different way. He's actually doing a small in-person Banneker workshop tomorrow before with their after-school program, which is really great. So that's more of like a targeted invite. And I believe he's connected with folks at the Purdue First Nation Center, or that's not the right name for what Purdue has, but has involved students from there. So yeah, the idea is that we'll try to, kind of get his footing under this, because some of this does involve coding is a part of the component and drawing and all this stuff. but he's created a one-page PDF, and that's probably how we'll handle the April 17th event, is like people could just draw it and then he'll take it back and code it. So we can have more of an informal kind of process that doesn't have to be an hour and a half commitment. So we'll work with him and you all on those kinds of programs going into end of March and April, as we get into kind of warmer weather and people feeling more confident about being involved in things. So
could somebody download this PDF and kind of submit it to us?
Once we get through tomorrow's workshop, the idea is that he'll have a landing page which you can access, download it, draw it, and then resubmit it. And that's what we're hoping. April 17th will be hopefully that launch for all of that we can say, because some people at the ribbon cutting likely won't want to stick around and draw on paper. So the idea of having that all built out by the 17th is kind of an internal deadline for us.
Perfect. And do you know how many people are attending tomorrow, as far as?
Last I heard, I think he had 15,
Okay.
and most people were online. So I did a big push to like IU students, MAA and the art school and stuff like that. So I think a lot of IU students are the kind of core, but I think there are maybe one or two people that are doing it in person. The mill is actually open. It's limited to, I think the classroom size is maybe no more than 10 people. So him and the Esteban and the mill are tracking that. So.
Perfect. Any questions regarding this?
How many total tiles will he make or are available?
I think it's something like 240. So it's quite a bit. It's so if you all want to submit something, by all means, right? Like if you want to help spread the word. I mean, we're hoping that I wasn't sure what spring events are happening where we want to align ourselves with. I think we still need to promote. Now that he's got the PDF done, I think that's what we should push for, rather than kind of in-person workshops and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it right now at the moment.
All right. Any other comments or questions regarding this particular project? Okay. Other projects.
4th Street Garage is close to final construction approval. Be a mock-up in the coming weeks. Late August completion. Sean, is that for the construction of the garage, or does that include the art element?
It's supposed to be both. If we can,
everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
If we can pull it off, but yeah, I mean the goal right now is that the garage will be operational in August, which is, I mean, the Trades District garage is going to open in April. So yeah, so I mean we're moving on that. It's a very tight timeline, and we might. That's a tall order on the art side of things. So hopefully, we can get the approval from the engineers and the architects ASAP. So that's what we're hung up on.
Cool. And then you're still working with Stefan Reese on visa issues and all that, and contracts from Ignition Arts.
Yeah. So Esteban's fine. We're kind of just trying to figure out how to get him here, what that looks like, and what the current timeline is, since we're trying to prioritize 4th Street. And since Ignition Arts is the fabricator on 4th Street, I don't want to necessarily ask for a fast track on another project at the moment. So we're just trying to play a little do-si-do right now around construction schedule and timelines with the other commitments that Ignition Arts already has in place. So, but yeah, it's moving slowly, but moving forward.
Okay, and then phase 2 of the BLM mural, hopefully happening next month. You mentioned that you had an initial meeting with Banneker. Has that happened this week yet, or is that?
Yeah, we had an initial meeting. That's actually kind of a staff report because it's still a Banneker Advisory Council led project. So I just wanted to kind of just revisit that. It's looking like April 17th. We have secured some funding to support involving Christina Elam again and Raheem Elmore for the kind of like layout. So the idea is it will be April 17th in the afternoon. I know that will be a busy day because we'll also have the trades garage. So we'll be in touch, but Banneker's really kind of leading the charge on that. We'll push out for volunteer signups. It won't be as extensive, not an all-day install like the other mural was. It's a little bit simpler in design and scope. But I will keep you all abreast as we move forward. But we'll definitely want BAC involvement with volunteering if you all are feeling comfortable with that. I'll keep you all in the loop as we move forward towards it.
What's the location for that one?
6th Street in between College and Walnut. So right on the courthouse square.
All right. Any other questions, comments, or needs for public art? Babette.
I'm going to put into the chat two, hopefully, didn't work. Okay, I'll do it slowly. There are, we were talking about doing maps, and there are a couple of them that have been done. So I'm just going to put it into the chat room for anyone who would like to look at both of these. And this is kind of, maybe Sam, this is good for your bike tours. And then we can talk about this at the public art meeting, the next meeting.
Thank you, Babette. Did you end up chatting with Erin?
Yes, I did. I had a terrific talk with her. And what she had, you want me to talk about it now?
Yeah, briefly, I think.
Okay. Basically, what she said is that they're not necessarily, at this point, they don't have graphic artists. They couldn't loan us any graphic artists, etc. And that she's not sure whether she would be able to do anything with us or not in terms of budgeting. However, she suggested taking a look at this limestone post. It was something that was done by a woman, MJ, can't remember her name. Anyhow, it's Melissa.
MJ Bauer.
Right, and she's got a terrific thing that she had started. So I looked at it, I thought it was sensational. And that maybe this is something that we could marry to what we're doing, and possibly we might want her to do a little bit more with it. But it's a great mapping already for an online to do various murals. It's probably somewhat dated or not at this point. And maybe this is something that we want to consider giving her a small grant or not to update it and to do it. But I thought it was pretty impressive. And I don't know whether it's being used anyplace else other than in this old article.
That's great. So let's go ahead and move this into the next public art meeting, Nick, so that we can go over it in more detail and not involve everybody at this point.
Right. Just copy the links and then you can look at both of these because both of them are impressive in different ways.
Anything else for public art? Or Nick, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was acknowledging and thanking Babette. This is great.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to grants. Essence, I know you've done a lot of work, so let's get an update from you.
Well, actually, there's still plenty of work to be done. So I need some help from the grants committee. But first, I would like to let everyone know, in case you didn't get the notification, that our meetings will be at noon now. Instead of at 2 o'clock, we've moved back to noon on the third Friday of every month. So on the 19th, follow that link that's in the notification and join us at noon. I would also like to send everybody's attention back to an email that I sent on February 26th. There's a link in there that I'll also put here in the chat so that you don't have to dig for it right now, to the folder that we have going now for grants. Let me know if you have any trouble accessing that. So what we have in there was a preliminary grant schedule, the BAC glossary of acronyms and terms, applications for the project support, the grants application for project support and for operational support, which we do need some edits on. Thank you. We need edits on the project support and the operational support, specifically so that we are including, so that we're not ignoring the effects of COVID in our applications. So Rachel and the grants committee before me, you all did a lot of work updating our grants applications to where they are, but it's just a couple of more tweaks so that we are still able to consider what organizations have done in response to COVID, and so that we're not discounting any work that they have done and being resilient and all of that. We want to make sure that we are addressing that. So maybe just a couple more questions that we'll want to edit in. I would like to also mention that the individual grants, we haven't heard back from legal yet on an approval to move forward with that. So any work that we do toward, I would definitely prioritize the projects and the operational grants, but all of the work that we do put forward on the individual grants application at this point will just have us ahead of the game for fall, because I would love to see that launched in the fall so that individual artists can apply and get some support. Let's see here. I think those are all that was my spill. That was the notes that I have here. What am I overlooking, Sean, Bryony, Rachel?
I think you need to make a plea and say, this is exactly what I need for the next 2 weeks, so that people can commit, because basically our schedule is on the line in a way. We're at a point where we will be behind, and we will not have a spring grant schedule, spring grant, if we don't get everything squared up in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Right. Okay. So I definitely would love for us to have a draft to approve, hopefully, on our Friday, the March 19th. I think I said February last time. March 19th, when we meet. So if we can have comments on or any edits to the program or the project and the operational grants by the Thursday before.
So Rachel, I have a question for you. Since you've been through this process before, do you think it's more helpful to have different people provide, feedback through a Google Doc, or would it be better to have a 1 or 2 hour working session where 2 or 3 people work through the document and get it done?
I think a combination of the two, actually. So if we could get feedback from everybody here, the full group, by next Wednesday, 7 days, March 17th. Happy birthday, Sean. Get those in by then. And then on the 19th, when we actually are meeting and have an hour in person. It's the grants committee that takes that feedback and actually writes it, and like uses that committee meeting as a working session. So anyways, it'll end up being like 3 or 4 of us actually working on it and making the changes, but getting the feedback from the full BAC beforehand is my suggestion. Don't have to take it, but.
Thank you for that. Sean, I saw you unmuted yourself. You have feedback?
I don't. I think that sounds awesome. I think we should move forward with that. And I would maybe, I mean, I think all of you probably know this a little bit better, but you know, the America Recovery Act passed today. It's going to Biden. So I don't know if we want to be conscientious to PPP round 2, Save Our Stages. There was a last minute amendment involving Save Our Stages. So we might be up against, like, I know that Cardinal, BPP, a variety of those folks are trying to like get in line for Save Our Stages as long with BCT. So I'm wondering if I don't know, maybe we might want to also maybe have a conversation with those folks just to see how they're feeling capacity wise for applying to things. I don't want to throw another curveball or say like delay our stuff if we don't need to, but I'd be curious what people have been hearing or thinking.
Well, just a quick heads up with PPP and Save Our Stages, you can only apply to one or the other. You can't apply to both. I only know that because I had to do that for Midway. We just applied for PPP, but not Save Our Stages. So that does kind of minimize the amount of grants that people are working on. I don't think it will have that big of an impact potentially, but I mean, whatever you all think. I mean, these applications have been open for a while. Like people have known to work on them.
Yeah, so I mean, what I've heard from people about Save Our Stages, though, it's pretty arduous and there's a lot of documentation. But I think there was a last minute amendment on Saturday that now PPP round 2 can be deducted from your overall. If you get Save Our Stages, you can apply to both actually, and they'll just deduce it from your Save Our Stages because that will come later apparently. But
I mean, the PPP contract that I had to sign, we had to initial saying that we were not applying or receiving funding from Save Our Stages, and I signed that yesterday. So I don't know.
So many unknowns and changes.
Yeah, it's arduous for sure.
Yes. So, I mean, I think as we go through the process, we have to keep an open mind. And, you know, our grants overall are ambiguous enough that we can adjust based on who submits, what's submitted, you know, what applications we have on the table, and the conversations that we're all having with colleagues and friends all over town, and then start to make decisions based on that. With that in mind, I would like some folks to commit to reviewing these documents for Essence by next Thursday, knowing and making it very clear to everybody that if you do not speak up during the next week, you cannot complain about the contents of these applications afterwards.
I can help review, but I'm pretty ignorant on all of this, so I don't know if my help has any value.
No, Babette, it does. I mean, I think coming in with a fresh set of eyes, I think we tend to get what is the Hemingway joke? Kill your darlings. I think we tend to ask the same content in a couple different ways. So having your fresh set of eyes would be helpful in a variety of different ways.
Well,
so,
you know, you can ask me to do anything because I have a lot of time right now that I'm happy to.
Yeah, and as long as you're putting, you know, comments and suggested edits in the document versus making the actual changes, that allows Essence to then, you know, counter all of the different comments and make one decision over all the others. All right, so you have Babette. Anybody else?
I have one
Liz.
quick question. Sorry.
I can.
Okay. All right, you've got 2 commitments. One more. No? All right, you have at least 2 commitments, Essence, and anybody else who can, please help her over the next week to get those comments in so that then the entire grants committee can hash it out in a couple weeks. So, Sean, you had something?
Yeah, so just to be clear, Essence, did you want, I didn't think about it this way. I was trying to fast track it. Do you want the artist program to launch in the fall? That actually, I think that would be ideal and probably more preferred for a variety of different reasons. I think more people would be vaccinated by then. schools in person. There's just a couple different like timing things, and then it would, Essence, since it's your first go around and some new members being brought in, I think that reviewing three different types of applications might be a little arduous, or I keep saying that word, a little bit cumbersome. So maybe just focusing on the program and operational might be a better way to think about the short time frame and getting this out the door. Just FYI, thoughts or Essence?
Right, that's definitely the goal as we get closer and closer to the deadline. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the independent was separate from this no matter what.
Cool.
We just didn't know if summer or fall.
I would also like to mention for those who are helping or considering helping review the grants applications that I uploaded applications from the Indiana Arts Commission and also the Recover Forward applications, because they do have questions that directly address the pandemic and recovery efforts. So we don't have to start from scratch with these questions. We can look at models and go from there.
And we have their blessing to actually use them, right? We had that meeting with IAC. Essence, do you want to talk very briefly about their organizational resilience and kind of like the extraordinary effort point of view that they suggested?
Sorry there. I'm sorry, I have two questions here. Am I sending links to all I need in that? I can send an email. I also sent the link to the drive here right above you in the chat. Babette.
Yeah, got it.
And then Brian, you were talking about the AIC.
Yeah, the fact we had a meeting with them and they provided their applications and said, you know, copy, do whatever you want from these. So we have their blessing to kind of, you know, use that as a starting point without a problem.
They were very excited to hear about our plans to expand specifically with the individual arts support, artist support. And they said that they are available for any questions that we have in the future as well. So I have their contact information. So as we don't have to work in isolation either. I know that there are efforts elsewhere on the commission for us to collaborate with other councils and commissions. And IAC is one of those, definitely.
All right. Anything else pertaining to grants from anyone? All right. I'll take silence as a no. Let's move on to strategic plan implementation updates. Let's give Essence a bit of a break.
No,
Rachel, let's start with you on the website. Okay, go ahead. Social media then.
Okay. So Valeria and I sent an email to Sean and Bryony. I think it was earlier this week. It's a blur, for a social media calendar for the rest of the month. And we haven't yet begun posting, but we have the idea, some of the content that we have was like a reminder to like join in on the meeting if you're available for the public, members of the public. We also came up with Discover Bloomington Art as a hashtag, and incorporating that the public art murals around town, and creating it so that it's something like a game, where we only show a portion of the public art and give people time to like try to find it around town and share with their own hashtag. But you know, in the meantime, we until we gain the followers in order for that to actually have interactions, we would love for you all to join in on the game. I'm gonna put our handle for Instagram in it's just Bloomington Arts Commission, but find us, follow us on Instagram. Right now, we only have 2 followers, Essence
I'm one
and
of
Rachel.
You found them already.
Yeah, well, I was pulling out the contact
yes,
information and putting the social links, and I saw that Essence was following, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be the legit one. So
and yeah, Sam, thank you for the email. We definitely have you on deck as that first tour of Bloomington art. So those were great photos that you sent us. Let's see what else.
Okay, yeah. I have a very quick question regarding the Instagram account.
Mm-hmm.
Can anybody on the commission post, or do they need to go through you?
Anybody can post. Absolutely. I was considering actually signing up for the event tomorrow, and getting some photos of Esteban in person. But I definitely do want any collaboration is welcome. I want you all to send us updates that you need posted. I took notes on the April 17th events and the call that we'll put out so that people can help out with the mural, the BLM mural. And if you have images that also go with the release of those of that information, that would be great if I don't have to create them myself, because I'm not a graphic designer in any sense.
Yeah, so
I believe that it is Instagram, right, Sean? Instagram, we do have, we are able to post without, do we have to get clearance from you? I need to know.
Yeah, I guess if it's editorialized, I would just keep it very clear it's about public art and what we control, and just tell that story. But yeah, keep me in the loop on that, just in case. But yeah, don't try to editorialize anything, right? And just try to make it about.
I don't know what you mean by editorialize. I'm sorry.
No opinion of things, right? Like, kind of keep it pretty neutral in terms of your tone, and if you're that's what I mean by editorialize. So
can you say, hey, I'm here at Esteban's workshop, it's awesome?
Totally fine. Yeah, that's fine.
An awesome opinion is fine, it's just not
if you're sharing about an event, that's one thing. But I think if you're trying to oh, this is a funny object, funny, like the
you can't hate a mural.
Yeah.
I think Instagram is more meant as an interaction of the commissioners within Bloomington.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Is that correct, Essence?
Yeah, that was definitely the plan. What Valeria and I decided to do, though, is to have a lot of the same content on both platforms, and editing it so that it fits with the platform either way, but still just to keep it uniform and keep the content steady. We were kind of duplicating most of those posts. Let's see. Oh, and then the last reminder that I want everybody to hear is that Valeria and I will be contacting each of you for our Meet the Commissioners series. I may be the first person to go up, or I might see if Bryony's down for it for April. But we will send an email. It's just a really short form, basically asking you how long you've been on the commission, any specific goals that you have while you're here, and then a little bit about your own art as well, if you're doing something as a practicing artist as well, just so that the public can get to know you beyond our Facebook live streams.
All right. Any comments, questions, anything regarding social media?
I just had one quick thought, just as far as like audience building. For those of us that are active on Instagram, it might just be good to like scroll through our followers and following lists, like particularly for like local artists and like local businesses, entities, things like that. Like I'm sure like, Essence, you and Rachel, like whoever has access to it right now, you can actually like build from your own network. But if we like, I don't know, send you a bunch of like the local like artists, local influencer types, for that we can follow from that account, hopefully get some follow backs and kind of help build it up. I don't know the best way to communicate that to you, but I don't want to just like bombard you with links, but
that's helpful, Nick. And yes, I will share that password. Is it protected here on this Zoom?
I would not share it out loud. I would email it to the group.
All right, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, Rachel, website.
I've made some steps in the right direction. Sorry, I've been swamped lately, but yeah, so I kind of put together a Word doc that has like the current layout, and then a proposed layout is in progress. But the main question I wanted to flag is we have so many different landing page URLs. Is it possible to have one URL and just one URL that is bloomington.in.gov/arts? Because if that's possible, then that'll dictate everything else for the layout of the site.
Sean?
There is arts, and that's the driver, that's the overarching lens. I don't know if we can.
It's the like parent page of grants.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the one page you can control is the Bloomington Art Commission one, unfortunately.
Which has a parent page of boards.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I need to put some thought into this because it's fine. All right. Cool. Yeah.
You'll work your magic.
I will figure it out. I don't understand why there are so many sub-parent pages, and it just makes it chaotic for people to have to click through things. So that's why we have so many URLs. We have 5.
What are the other URLs?
Well, some of the URLs are linked to just like PDFs, but we have .gov/board/arts, .gov/arts/grants, .gov/sites, and then file name, and it has that for 3 of them. So I'm just trying to find a way to streamline it. Essentially, less clicks the better. But it's cool. There's also just some issues I'm having with on the grants page. It includes information on 1% for the arts. And I think that public arts needs to be separated from grants because that's how we're separating it within the master plan and strategic plan. So I'm just kind of wrapping my brain around how to organize it. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts. I don't know if there's a deadline for when I need to have like a full proposal fleshed out. I think I would work better if there's a deadline, if that could be given to me, because I tend to do better with deadlines.
I'm checking my document.
Great, because this will continuously get pushed down on my priority list as like people continue to ask me for things on a daily basis. And I don't want to do that. So having a deadline makes it.
In theory, we're unveiling the updated website in June.
So initial proposal by the next full meeting?
Yep.
How does that sound?
That sounds good. And if you want to have a brainstorm or a walkthrough like session, just let me know.
Thanks. I will hit you up, and I saw your email about that from like 2 months ago, but then it got buried to the bottom of my inbox and I came across it again recently.
No worries.
So thank you.
Babette, you have a thought?
I have a question. I think Rachel's absolutely right. Can't a lot of those sub pages be or other things, the other URLs, can't they end up being sub pages of arts?
I'll look
Instead
into
of
it.
freestanding?
I'll look into it. Knowing that you approved that idea, I will sidebar with Sean
Big time
and
approved.
whomever we need to see if it's if there's any magic we can pull to make it happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
maybe you
that's
can just
crazy.
redirect.
Yeah, I was gonna say or
Yeah.
either a redirect link or Sean, who is the city programmer? Because I might just, if you don't mind, hit them up directly and just like ask a couple programming questions.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that you're going to be limited. I just know for a fact you're going to be limited
know.
in those pages.
I know.
Right?
I would just still like to ask.
I don't know who that person is, but I can try to find out. I would say that if we can, the pages, the way to think about it would be there, the /board/our BAC. We can probably do arts and grants, and then we could probably create a new page that would be arts/public art. That's probably feasible because that's not on the website.
Yeah, so I would prefer not to create those new pages though. So I'm trying to figure out if I can like get a screenshot of how the back end is mapped, I'll be able to propose how we can limit the amount of pages there are. I totally hear what you're saying. I know that it's going to be challenging and that I will probably not be able to make everything happen that I want to make happen. But I just want to see what the full picture is so that I can actually see what is possible and what absolutely isn't possible. So, yeah. I mean, right now it's just there's a lot of links, and I think we can streamline that, including the public art stuff, just by breaking it up within the body of the page that already exists.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Cool. Thank you. I mean, I don't know. I know you all are probably hosting on your own server, but from all of the websites I've ever worked on, there should be some sort of back end to easily look at what parent pages are and what the sub pages are. And ideally, that's what I can do. But thank you. Either email me a contact or I'll figure it out.
All right. Any questions or comments regarding the website? All right, Babette, do you have a community hour update?
Yeah.
Okay. After discussing it with multiple people, basically, we want to do once a month BAC Community Arts Hour. It should start at 5:00 p.m. It should be probably on a Wednesday. And I think we decided to ask Sean for his schedule or to look at the schedule and come up with whichever would be the best time to do it. The big question, we'll do it on Zoom, at least for the next period, depending what's going to happen. Each time we'll have 2 commissioners who are present and we'll work in tandem. We want to open the first program, which will be an introduction of our community arts organizations. We'll all try to put together whoever we think we can reach out to. And the big question, so it'll be like maybe an hour long. The first evening will be 15-minute presentation of both the BAC, BEAD, BUEA, and the IAC. Then the second presentation will be about public art. What is public art? Examples of public art. And we'll decide who the best people are to do that. The third session would be about grants and grant writing. The fourth session will be possibly about the role of traditional versus contemporary art and political art and public art. The fifth one would be about selling your work and we get people who are experts in various, whether it be somebody, for each session, we'll try to have 4 presenters, each one about 15 minutes apiece. So it makes it more interesting. It'll be interactive, it'll be Q&A also. Then another session, and possibly, depending when we start, we'll move it up into June, which would be to meet the recipients of the BAC grants. And we work on that with Essence, and it would end up being however number of people would like to participate and do, a short little spiel about, who they are and what they're going to be doing. So there are lots of other things, the role of social media. There are multiple ideas, and I think as we go along, we'll ask for, for ideas from the people who are there and what they would like to see more of, and it'll kind of be a work in progress. The big questions are when to begin. So at this point, it would have to begin sometime, either the first one probably in May. April might be too soon, but we could try, and Sean has to pick a night. So anybody who has any comments, please.
So Sean, just to clarify, you picking is like the second Wednesday of the month or whatever, based on whatever else is happening on a regular schedule within City Hall. We're just looking for a recommendation. All right, that was a lot of information for all of you. We need reactions, guidance, comments, a lot of feedback, please.
And when to begin.
My comment is around the community hour a bit. Just thinking about, how are you thinking about advertising, and is it that you are, because I've heard you mention different organizations, so is it that we'll be hosting these alongside some of these other organizations for like the first one? Because I like these meetings, but I don't know if people will want to come and just like talk to us. And so how are we thinking about making, I guess, like sort of partnering with other organizations or something, so that we can make sure that it's not just like a couple of us on here, and there's some real value for the community members.
As far from what I understand, we have an active list of different artists and art groups in town that covers not just fine art, but literacy, dance, theater, etc. Plus the fact that there are, I can think of an easy way to reach out for a couple hundred people. But my contacts are more in the, participatory art. So I think it's a matter of all of us reaching out to the groups that we know. And I think, Sean, you said there are about 150 names or something on the mailing list. So I think you'll be surprised how many people will come to these, especially because it's on Zoom initially.
Yeah, and I think that first session, Quentin, is more about just clarifying what the different groups are, because there is a lot of confusion, and we saw that through the surveys and the interviews that I conducted last year as to, what is BAC, what is our Alliance, what's Arts Forward Bloomington, what's BUEA, what's the BEAD. So the first one is that Babette is putting together is an overall groundwork of these are all the different groups, and then from there build into different topics that are of interest, and we'll go building some of those as COVID ebbs and webs decides what we're doing. We need to tailor those based on what the needs of the community are, but we would always involve somebody else besides us to provide the launching pad for the topic, and then have an open discussion. Correct me if I'm wrong, Babette, is that what I understand?
No, that's well said.
Got it. That's exactly what I was wondering. Thank you.
I would just recommend, because you all are all volunteers, that June is probably a more reasonable timeline to start, just because we have grants and we have a dedication and a couple different dedications and a couple projects upcoming. And that would give you time. I think what I would suggest is I would maybe use the June meeting for us as a way to announce the next quarter of conversations and who we're partnering with. So you can kind of say it's going to be these days, for here are the next 3 over the next 3 months or something like that. That's how I suggest doing it. Because what's going to happen, I think, also too, as we get into the summer and the fall, people are going to start transitioning into being, restaurants are going to open, those kinds of things. So we're going to be competing with that kind of framework. I think.
I hope so.
yeah, which is good. I don't know if just because of we had our record longest city council meeting last Wednesday. I don't know if Wednesdays would be an ideal, even like maybe I don't know. Thursdays seem to just sit better, maybe, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Thursday. Maybe.
That's up to you, Sean.
I think it's arbitrary.
Okay. I get careful about Wednesday.
So would you look and see which Thursday? I mean, obviously should be the second or third Thursday. Would be the easiest, and then just pick one. And I don't think it's going to take very long to get this moving at all. I mean, it's just a matter of making phone calls and getting it set up.
Yeah, I was just checking the implementation schedule with that, and we do have it noted as announcing the community hour at the June meeting, which is kind of like our annual celebration that we still need to figure out what it is that we're doing, if we're presenting to city council or not, those kinds of details, and then starting in July. So if that helps guide, so that means that we have the website, most likely, that we have other things set in place so that we're not trying to launch everything within the first quarter. I know you're eager and you're ready.
No, I think July's a kind of a hard month for, well, I don't, who knows? I mean, traditionally July is the worst month, but it may not be this year. So, who knows what's, in terms of participation. And if we're on Zoom, then people can be wherever they are. So y'all think July would be a good time to begin it?
All right, I want everybody to provide feedback or input. Sam, Liz, Essence, everybody.
What I'm thinking about, because of where my service is social media, like any kinds of images or information that we can share, just make sure that we have access to that, or if you would need us to throw together some type of image to circulate online, just give me enough time to plan that ahead. But since other organizations are going to be involved, if they want input on how the promotion looks like, it's just a matter of putting us in touch and making sure that we have each other's social media information.
I think it's just a matter of a few phone calls to the right people and, making sure it works on their calendar. Does anybody have an opinion about the second or third Thursday?
I do actually. I think it should be the third Thursday, because if it's the second Thursday, it's always going to be the day after these meetings, which creates a heavier lift for commissioners. I think the other thing is that by having it like 8 days after this meeting, it gives us like this good runway. If we need to tidy up any loose ends, you've got everyone here, and it's, in the near future. And so, people won't sit on their hands about it. The only other thought that I had is, as far as like, email list and utilizing our networks, I think if we're going to sort of rely on the collective Rolodexes of all the commissioners. I do worry a little bit if we're individually messaging each time. Like, I feel like that will drop off. Speaking for myself, I will drop off. Like I worry about my follow through a little bit on that, like every month, like reaching out to people. And so we might be better off like collecting our contacts and putting them into like one master list, just so that there's like one action each month rather than like a domino of, whatever, like 10 actions by each commissioner or whatever.
And we have a BAC email I can send out from. So if you all create a Excel, like a Google Sheet with contact information, I can pull from that and shoot a draft email from the BAC at bloomington.in.gov. So why don't we do that?
But Sean, didn't you say that there is a master list of people like, all the people that we normally interact with?
I mean, I have a couple different listservs. Yeah. So we have like an artist database that's like on the website.
Yeah.
People can, yeah. So, I mean, I check that regularly. There's like the Beat advisory group. So we can pull a master spreadsheet and you all could start to put in your contacts too. And then what I could do is, similar to what Essence was saying, if we can build out the programming in quarter cycles, then I know what days to shoot the email out. And then that way it covers what Nick was saying, so that it's not Nick emailing the same 10 people. And then, I think that's part of the redundancy of a lot of organizations that, people are targeting the same people and we end up cannibalizing our audience a little bit.
Sean, are we allowed to use MailChimp or something similar?
We could probably look into that. I don't see why not. We used to have MailChimp, not for the BAC, but for the bead. It just, nobody opened it, right? So that's what justified us shutting it down. So it's not out of the question. We might have a different format now or a different like city account, but we can look into it.
I would look into it just because that also gives us some additional feedback on click-through and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's centralized and anybody can just add or subtract from there. And it also gives people the option to say, I don't want to receive these emails, which is just a respectful point of view of saying, we want you there, but if you really don't want to, I hear you. All right, any other comments or feedback for
I guess my feedback would be about like our target audience and making sure we reach them. If it is, like we were just saying, like what's the Rolodex list? Is it Bloomington townies who've been here for a long time, or like students as a whole block of different promotion and lists? And
I think to an extent it varies from date to date.
Yeah, like the one that caught, I bet you listed off a bunch of information. It sounded like you got this really planned out and it was awesome. The one that caught my ear was like how to sell your work. Like that, as a trying to be an artist person, like that one caught my ear. So like, let's make sure that gets in front of the right people who are trying to be artists. But yeah, I don't really have an answer. Just being intentional about who we're getting this messaging to, and not just shooting it to everyone possible, maybe.
Well, and then we can always announce it in the normal ways that you can. There are about a half a dozen outlets here that you can always announce that you're doing something, and then you get the general public. But there's also various art groups, anywhere from Arts Alliance, which at this point has a pretty big list, and I'm sure they would welcome sharing this. And there are plein air groups here. There's groups of young people. There's so many different groups here that I'm sure would be happy to to share this in a link for it in their normal communications. So I don't I don't think it would be hard to reach out to people. And I think to your point, which is very good, is that various people are going to pick and choose what interests them. So you'll probably have different people coming to different groups or different sessions. When you put a call out for grants, that goes to I don't know how many people. So I'm sure that there would be multiple people who are really interested in understanding maybe a little bit more about the grant process, especially if we're doing a program where we're reaching out to individual artists. So I think, we should try to coordinate the calendar of what we're talking about to, what the BAC is actually doing.
Absolutely.
Sam, do you have any advice from Collide? I mean, you ran a similar program, so I'm just curious what any lessons learned that we should be aware of?
Well, yeah, I guess that's the last thing I've had him, like I've done a lot of event promotion for like rock shows and stuff as a younger rock and roller. And then yeah, the Collide pivoted from a thing in real life with free food. That's a winner. Whenever you can provide free food, that's a winner. But like, and then once we had to pivot to Zoom, it kind of sucked. Like, and I didn't really like. It was the first couple were Zooms, and like mostly it was the staff who like had to show up, and then like maybe 5, maybe 10 other people who were like our like diehards who would come no matter what. And that was it. And like we promoted it on our social and our newsletter, our monthly newsletter, and it just like, hey buddy, it just like, it was hard to promote a Zoom because at that point, and I think still, like people were Zoom fatigued pretty hard. And I had one of the so then we pivoted from, I was like, well, no one wants to log into another Zoom. Let's just make what's the word is asynchronous, which means you can access it whenever. So I was like, let's just make a YouTube video where I interview an artist or whoever, and then people can watch it whenever they want to. And that's what we kind of pivoted to, and we did 4 of those, and they worked well. I mean, you could see the metrics on that. So like 100 people watched the video instead of the 15 who showed up to the Zoom, and then it lives forever on the internet, so you can always share it. So that was, I argued to like, let's make a YouTube show out of it. But then you lose your interactivity. I mean, or you could do a Zoom and then get it interactive and then keep it as a video. But like watching a Zoom video is not the most exciting, a week from now. So I don't really have a good answer, but like it was difficult to promote a Zoom, basically, to make it appealing. Yeah.
Very helpful. Thank you.
I think just to jump in, I think that was some of my initial worry around my question, which is why I think sort of to Beth's early point, making sure that, especially in those first calls, that we have representatives from other organizations or, on those calls with us will make it more appealing, at least because then, they can bring their audiences because, right, everybody's so tired of Zoom and showing up to Zoom things. And so I think, yeah, so Sam really sort of got at the heart of, I think, my initial concern.
All right. I think we have our work cut out here, and you have enough guidance, Babette, to take it to the next step and bring it back at the next meeting. As always, I'm available.
Okay, so we're gonna start this in July is what we're saying. Everybody's comfortable with that? I mean, my own experience is you never start anything in July, but
think it through, and I think prior to June is a little too soon in the fact that we have other things going on. It might be that we start in September. There's nothing that stops us from pushing it back. I'd rather start strong and in a time that makes sense than try to rush it and be like, okay, because we're ready. We're
okay. Well, we'll talk about this and come up with something. Yeah. Thank you, Helen. Yeah.
All right. Karen, you've been working on a public art kind of emerging artist toolkit. If you can give us an update on that.
Well, at this point, it's pretty unfinished. It's in progress. I know that I sent what I had to you, Bryony, and to Nick, because Nick had just said he was a little interested how it related to the master plan. I see it more of as a directory, someone who's sort of interested in getting involved in the arts or getting involved in being an artist would have some local information, such as arts organizations, studio spaces, a lot of different things where they're basically just links to where they can go, business advice and that sort of thing. Obviously, again, I did mention last time my perspective is from visual arts, and we need to make a decision whether this is going to be a visual arts emerging artist thing or whether we're going to expand it to performing arts. So, that's something that we probably all ought to think about. But basically, I've just been putting together sources that already exist. And I guess I need feedback at this point if this is what we really were talking about in terms of support for new and aspiring artists, or whether it was something completely different that I just haven't figured out.
All right, so I've gone ahead and shared the current draft. So anybody have any feedback? Karen, in the meantime, I requested edit access, but I haven't gotten it. Somehow it's not letting me edit.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I'll look.
No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to get a copy. I can chime in too, if you don't mind sharing it with me.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing it with anybody. Like I said, it's very preliminary at this point. It was more or less, is this what we're supposed to, is this what we wanted to do before I decided to work more on it, or, even invite other people who are interested, which I'd be very happy for others to participate.
Sam, you had something?
Yeah, I like the look of this. I think it seems like a nice working document. I'm just with either business or legal. One kind of question that I've been dealing with lately is like taxes and like how to become an LLC or making, sole proprietor, that sort of business setting up your business for taxes. So that might be under the Cook Center, but that might be another line wherever you could find that information about.
Yeah, I think that may be under the Cook Center. I actually put in a request for them to talk with them so I can find out exactly what kind of support they give. And I'll get back when they haven't gotten back with me.
I mean, I know when I set up my business a long time ago, it's actually really easy to set up an LLC. It's just like some sort of form on indiana.gov. So you might be able to find that, but I guess more talking about what's the right choice for an artist if you're an LLC or what other thing. But
from what I understand, the power of an LLC is for liability, and I think at least for visual artists there probably isn't that issue, but for other kinds of performance arts there might be. So it depends on where we go with this, whether I do think that's important. There, and the Indiana tax situation in terms of licenses and all sorts of things, be able to collect sales tax and a lot of things people don't know of when they first start, and they can get caught up in some badness. So,
the tax idea and like if you do like a 1099 or like what, just so you don't get caught in the butt with taxes at the end of the year.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and then there's also issues too with online now, like Squarespace actually doesn't track individual state sales. Like the state of California doesn't see Squarespace as a tax provider. And so like all these artists are using Squarespace right now, which is probably not ideal. So anyways, it's just, but to Sam's point and Karen's point, and to tie it back to maybe Babette's conversation, maybe there could be this actual like strategic kind of professional development focus that we take for those kinds of conversations in the last quarter of the year. Maybe it is about like artist sales and taxes 101, and we bring in a CPA. Like maybe that's one way to deal with some of that those kinds of like lingering things. So if we're worried about audience and really targeting specific gaps based off of this directory, that might be one way to close the loop on a couple of things. But Karen, this looks really helpful.
I
Karen,
actually, the center does that, and I've seen that they even had some things that they were doing on Zoom. But I think that if we get in touch with them, they might be able to do this, and then we could actually publicize it for them.
Karen, I have everything. I have all the stuff in writing, all kinds of kits, because I was the chair of SCORE here, and that's all we did. Was work with everybody, whether it was for-profit, not-for-profit, depending if it's single proprietor, it didn't matter. And so the SBA is probably the best resource here. And that's certainly something that, and Sam, I'd be happy to talk to you about it and send you any information about it. But yeah, I can tell you who to talk to, and I can send you all kinds of stuff.
I wonder if at this point it's time, maybe, I don't think I can upload to the BAC site, but maybe Briney can. You can't?
No, I can't, but what do you want to do?
Well, just take this document. Maybe it's time to just put it in the shared space, and we could all, everyone have more chance to look at it.
I thought you meant on the website. No, I can put it on the Google Drive, no problem.
Okay.
You all should have access to the shared folders. If you don't, let me know. I can make you all editors, just so you can upload documents. Let me know if
we actually, Sean, we need to update
the 21 folder.
The root folder.
Uh-huh.
Not everybody has access to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I tried at one point and did not, so I figured that
most commissioners can only access whatever they get links for.
Okay.
Versus actually like being able to navigate through the folders. So we need to unlock that. Okay, so Karen, that is a great start. I think that we can all build upon that. So I'll go ahead and upload that to the Google Drive and give you all access so that you can add, even if you don't know what resources, if you think a section needs to be added or a topic, go ahead and add that. The dog has an opinion here. I want to be kind of aware of the fact that it's almost 6:30. So I will go ahead and see if Sean has any staff report updates at this point that we haven't covered.
I think we got them all.
All right. Commissioner announcements. Nothing?
I'm making a bunch of vinyl decals as kind of a side business if anyone ever needs any vinyl decals. Like, here's an example, if you can see it. I don't know. They're stickers, basically, if you ever need them for art shows or stuff like that.
That's a good resource. Anybody else?
Really? No.
Well, I could just say that in a week or so I'll be fully vaccinated. So if you need somebody to go out in the in public or whatever, I'm willing to do that now.
We'll all catch up with you soon enough.
They'll just wear a bunch of iPads.
Commissioner. Done.
Let's see, do we have anything left on the agenda at this point? No?
Public
all right.
comment? Chaz, I don't know if Chaz wants to chime in.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, I put in the chat, if you ever need a space that's safe, please let us know at FAR. You can just email me at chaz@thefar.org. Also, I want to say next week, thanks to a BUEA grant, we're having some kids workshops, a tile and ceramics one that's free to the public. So that's happening next week. So if you know any kids that are interested in doing it's in person, but we hopefully will be really safe space. It'll be spaced out and everything. But we just had the opening for Beginner's Mind, a show that features some submissions from kids in the community. It's very cute. It closes on Friday. We're only able to have it open for a week, but swing by during our open hours to see it. It's very cute kids work. So
what's the age group of the tile and ceramic?
I think it's like 7 to like 13. 6 to I think the ceramics it can be like 4 to 13, but tile mosaic is like 7. You need to be a little older. So
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Anybody have any parting words? Well, it was good seeing you all. We'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting with 1 minute to spare. Have a good evening.